Hello, my name is Simon Hucker. I am the head of sale for Lyon & Turnbull's latest auction, Avant Garde, a sale that features paintings, drawings and sculptures from 1890 to the present day. Behind me is one of the star lots of the sale, Yankel Adler's Girl with Cat, painted in 1942. For me, Adler is one of those artists who really represents what the sale is about. He was born in Poland, but actually had most of his career in the UK, having been forced to leave the continent in the 1930s due to the fact that he was Jewish and was living in Germany. This painting was painted in Scotland, but it's a very European image in terms of the way that it's put together and also some of the content. Behind the girl, we see this strange form here, which is actually a sculpture, probably by the Russian artist Avant Garde, who also had to flee Europe in the 1930s and ended up actually working in St Ives in Cornwall. Like a number of works in the auction, this work is completely fresh to market. It's been in the same private collection since the 1960s. But also what's fascinating about it, it was originally owned by the collector Peter Watson, who was hugely influential in London in the late 1940s. He was the person who was collecting modern art. He also supported a lot of young artists like John Craxton and Lucian Freud. So for this work to have basically been owned by two people in the last 70 years is pretty amazing. One of my favourite lots in the sale is this beautiful drawing by Henry Moore. It's early, it's about 1930, but you can already start to see where Moore is going with his work. It's kind of these monumental limbs, reducing the figure down to a more kind of abstract proposition, which will become his signature style later on in the decade. Another of the key lots in the sale is this wonderful drawing by Amedeo Modigliani, and this drawing has all the classic elements. These beautiful almond-shaped eyes, that curve of the nose, that sense that it's a very flat image, but it's also got quite a lot of cubist space within it. We don't know who the sitter is, but judging by her short hair, you imagine that she's probably somebody on the Bohemian club scene. They were known as Kikis back in the day in Montparnasse, and a kind of very typical Modigliani sitter. What's particularly special about this drawing is that it was bought by the British artist Christopher Wood, who was in Paris in the 1920s, so just after Modigliani had died. And Wood was one of those British artists who saw Paris as the source of the avant-garde and went there to experience it. Wood owned this drawing up until about 6 months before his own tragic death. Wood sold the drawing to his dealer Alex Reid and Lefebvre, who at the time were the place in London to see and show avant-garde art, and they sold it just a couple of years later to a private Scottish collector, and it's come down through the generations of his family to now. So the person who buys this from our auction will be only the third person to have owned it. Avant Garde will take place at the Mile Galleries in London on the 27th of April at 6 p.m.